Home sellers, let's talk about the dreaded home inspection and the repair negotiation that ensues. I'm Dan Beer with the Beer Home Team here at eXp Realty, and selling over 1,000 homes. I want to share with you exactly how we think about the home inspection from a seller's perspective when representing you on the sale of your home, and what to expect, what to allow, what not to allow, how to think through the home inspection process so A, you're not disappointed, B, you don't let value erode at any greater rate than is necessary, and C, so that you don't make a short-sighted decision at the expense of long-term value. So here's how we think of it, okay? When the buyer is doing their inspection, what we don't want to allow is for them to try to negotiate what's already been visible to them when they came to see the property. So in other words, your agent needs to protect you from not allowing the other party to negotiate things like, hey, we want extra money for painting the home, or we want money for, changing the carpets, or just different things like that, especially if those things were visible at the time of the showing. Now, if the carpet was damaged in some kind of area that wasn't visible during their showing, now that's something different. If the paint was damaged in an area that wasn't visible, same thing. But their offer is representative of what they've already seen. The inspection is only meant for those things that are not functioning or broken that the buyer really had no reason to know about. So for example, if the oven doesn't work, yes, that is a reasonable repair that they're going to ask for and that we would recommend that you accept. Here's also why. If you lose the deal, and this is what you want to think about with anything you accept, if you lose the deal based on that broken oven and now you have to go back to market, well, the next buyer is going to ask for the oven to function also. Or you're going to have to disclose up front that the oven isn't functioning, in which case, of course, now you're selling a damaged property, right? So there's going to be, that oven is going to have to be addressed regardless of if it's this buyer or the other. So that's one of the biggest principles right there is if I say no to this repair request from the buyer, if we lose the deal based on this request, am I likely to run into this request again with the next buyer? In the case of the broken oven, you're going to see that requested, call it 99 out of 100 times, so it would not be a wise reason to lose the deal. There are, however, times when the buyer starts trying to poke at things like, hey, I want a brand new, I want a brand new water heater, even though the water heater works, or I want a new HVAC system, even though it works. Sure, it might be old, but it works. Well, that's not what the repair process is for. That's not what the inspection process is for. So there you're safer to say no because the next buyer is unlikely to ask for that. Of course, though, things aren't always that simple. You also want to think about what is the global, right? What's the universal value of that deal? Did you sell it at a phenomenal price that you're unlikely to replicate? Or has the market actually moved in a positive direction since the sale? So you're not so worried about losing the deal if they insist on having something done that you don't want to do, because your next buyer will pay possibly even more. So you of course want to look at the net value of the deal, and you want to be thinking about, will the next buyer ask for the same exact thing? One thing you really want to get away from is those small irritants, right? Like when they start asking, the buyer might ask for, hey, fix this little tiny trinket and give me this water stopper and give me this little tiny thing. And sometimes the list can be this big and it annoys you to no end. Having said that, once you go through the actual line items, you realize that, hey, you know what, this adds up to maybe $500 and I have an awesome deal on this house and the timing of the closing works for me and I'm moving to wherever I'm going and I'm going to have a great interest rate. And so you want to factor all that in. And again, not allow the small stuff to get in the way of a deal that makes sense. Commercial real estate guys, they often poke fun at us residential guys because we'll be in the middle of $1 million deal and we start arguing about the microwave. And they say, I don't get that from a commercial real estate standpoint. That doesn't make sense to me, right? This is them speaking, because what we're looking at is, does the deal make sense? And a deal never makes sense or doesn't make sense based on the microwave. So that's just another way of saying, stay focused on the big picture. Make sure that you are conscious of the fact that, what you say no to, was it an extravagant ask or was it a common ask that you're going to just simply bump into again if you lose the current deal? And what is the net value of what's going on, not just financially in the deal, but also in terms of what's going on in your life. Make sure that you make a correct response, and most importantly, make sure you're aligned with an agent that will guide you through the answer to these questions. You may not necessarily know what's likely to be asked for again by the next buyer and what's really just a very unique, very picky, very, kind of a stretch ask by the current buyer. Also, an agent that knows and understands how to position language in a way that will not allow you to erode value, your deal to have value erosion beyond what is necessary. Of course, we can go to 100 different examples. Every home is different, but I hope this video makes sense to you, and if you want to discuss anything home sale related or purchase related, just let me know. We'll jump on a call. I'm Dan Beer with the Beer Home Team. Looking forward to serving you on the next video.